Great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Adoption Happy Hour brought to you by NAAP. We are the National Association of Adoptees and Parents, where it is our mission to unify the adoption community and elevate our diverse voices by promoting dialogue, understanding, and healing through education, awareness, and connection. I'm Marcie Keithley, your board president and host for this evening, along with Beth Story and Jennifer Falsing in the Zoom room, and our special guest and partner, Cara with Right to Know. We're so excited that all of you are here this evening. We know we're going to have some more enter the Zoom room, and we just want to say welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're here for the very first time, please make sure to give us a shout out in the chat room. Let us know. And also let us know what state or country that you're viewing us from right now. We're going to go through a couple of housekeeping items first before we dig in. So, Jen, what do you have for us? Okay, we want to remind everyone this is a public meeting with no guarantee that information or identity is confidential. Portions of this event are recorded and may be shared on our private Happy Hour group on Facebook and our YouTube station. If you haven't already, if you don't follow us on Facebook, please do so, Adoption Happy Hour. That's where our recorded replays will be. Please remain on mute this evening. Raise your virtual hand if you have a comment or question to be recognized. You're free to post your questions or comments in the chat room. Also, if you're experiencing a serious mental health event or suicidal thought, please contact a licensed professional or the hotline, the suicide hotline number. What else do we have, Jennifer? Okay, we wanted to talk about our support group. So instead of going slide by slide, we decided to put them all up together. So again, every week, Happy Hour is the first and the third Friday of each month. However, we do have a support group each week. So there's something going on in NAAP every week. So we start off with, we do have Dr. Joyce, Lost and Found, Then What? An exploration of after reunion. And she is close to the end of the month. And I think we're scheduled for the 18th at 6 p.m. EST. We also have First Families with Amber Jimerson, which is the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. EST. And then we have Danielle Gaudette at the end of the month, and she's on, and somebody's going to have to remind me the date. I think that's a Wednesday. No, Thursday. That is Thursday. Okay. Any other housekeeping before we dig in, Jen? Any other announcements we need to make?
Nope, we are ready to go.
Okay. Well, again, we want to welcome everybody to Adoption Happy Hour. If you're joining us for the first time, please give us a shout out and follow us there on Adoption Happy Hour on Facebook. We're going to just dig right in. Cara.
I have a terms question.
Okay, here we go.
Somebody said I'm a Jen, you said BSE adoptee. What is that? What's BSE?
Baby scoop adoptee. Baby scoop era.
Baby scoop era. Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No,
I think it's important, Cara.
so important, right? Because then we know what people are talking about. And
because language
matters.
Language matters.
Language matters. We couldn't stress that enough. So thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Aren't you happy to see everybody?
Yes, and it's wonderful to see everybody again. We've missed you already, and it's only been a couple of days. Mm-hmm. So how many, let's start off right off the bat. If you attended the summit last week, go ahead and blow that chat bar up, because I know we have a lot of you here with joining us this evening. So say yes, yes, or whatever you want to put in there, but that you attended, let us know.
So I actually put us in, I'm looking at the whole gallery. Of course, I'll have to switch pages, but raise your hand on screen or raise your virtual hand if you were at the summit. Just try and get an idea. I see a whole lot of hands, a whole lot of hands. That is awesome. And if you weren't, you were missed.
Mhm.
And I hope that in the future, we run into each other, whether it's our event, it's somebody else's event, but it was an amazing time. Look at all those hands. That's awesome.
You know,
And
I think my favorite thing is we had people from all the different communities and all the different constellations from the communities attend.
Yeah, I think I called it, I said, we can't call it a constellation anymore. Look at this group we have. It's a galaxy now.
See,
It was quite amazing.
who would like to start off with their favorite session? Well, go ahead and put it in the chat bar. What you enjoyed the most about it? Just give us some thoughts. Jump right in. Yeah, we are a galaxy. Yeah, the inner child.
I know
Danny.
Beth didn't get to attend many. She was kind of pinned down to the registration desk and manning volunteers. I worked in some, and I really enjoyed the ones that were outside of the adoption community, or to go and learn more and more and more about other communities. I thought that was important to me.
that the open mic was fabulous. That was even better than I thought. And I definitely think we have to do that again. I was so impressed with everybody sharing and vulnerability. It was awesome. Yeah, Cory's amazing, isn't she? Cory Goodrich.
Mhm.
You all should. Did you guys, if you guys don't see her on Facebook, check her out, because you know she was an actress and a singer before she had her NPE, and then she has her NPE and finds out that her dad's an artist. So she's like, I should try painting. Go look at her paintings. They're fabulous. She's so talented.
We had a variety of talent Thursday evening.
Mhm.
That, yeah, open mic was definitely a hit, and that's something I think we should definitely repeat.
Mhm.
I wanted to share, kind of following Amber today. Amber, you shared with us what your friend wrote about attending the conference, and I printed it off to show to my husband. My husband did a workshop for significant others. He's been a significant other in this process for the last 30 years, and he was blown away by this conference. He said he'd never been anywhere where he saw people. So I'm going to cry again. I'm sorry. I cry over everything. Where he saw people so vulnerable, so authentic, so sharing, so kind. It was like everything that Amber's friend just resonated. Hello, buddy. And I've got my grandson here. But anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because he's a therapist and he's been to conferences on his own millions of times, but he said he'd never been to anything with this level of community and communication. It just blew him out of the water.
I know, weren't you touched by what Amber's sister said about just being embraced? I just loved your husband, Leslie. He was amazing.
Oh, there's your little one. And I think we got a lot of really good feedback. But I talked to some people that were not a part of any community, like Amber's friend. One was there as a ghostwriter. There was a reporter, some reporters there, and they have no ties to any bit of our community. They didn't even know anybody else there, and they were blown away. That's what I found. They were paying attention. They were taking notes. They were going into the workshops. They were out talking to all the authors, meeting the podcasters. I thought that was what was fascinating. They really engaged. Yes, Jen, so many good hugs. We got lots of hugs.
That was my favorite part. I feel like I lost all my hugs over COVID, and maybe I'm refilled now. The podcasters were amazing. Wasn't it fun to meet some of those people in person? Like, you have these kind of impressions from hearing them online and then getting to like interact and chat with them. Lily is adorable. She's so sweet. I love Alexis. Eve is so much fun. I mean, it was so much fun to meet them in person.
I see Senator Ford, Jen said, left his personal email in her book so she can reach out to him. So, and
Jen, isn't that the first time we've even had a senator attend one of our
yeah.
events?
Yep.
Wow.
And we met him back when we were Hoosiers for Equal Access to Records, and we were testifying, and he slipped me his personal cell, and we've talked on other legislation over the years, but I'm like, okay, here comes my big ask after all these years. And, you know, he came. And the best part about this is that Beth and I live close enough to him that we're going to start the schmoozing over the spring, summer when he's not in session and he wants to work on some legislation. So if you are an Indiana adoptee, we're finalized in Indiana, we do have a survey out that'll help Senator Ford with legislation. Please answer it. It's on our Facebook page. Side note, along with other surveys that have been sent by Untangling Your Roots.
Well, when you get ready, I'm sure some of us would, in the NPEs and DCPs in Indiana, would also love to write letters. So
exactly.
Let us know.
What else did you guys like about the summit?
I loved, and I'm not saying that Cara could share it, but I heard many little interactions about where people were kind of sharing their stories from the two different communities and kind of like, well, this is what's going on with me. It's not necessarily you don't deal with this, but then it was like, well, yes, I do, but it looks like this over here. But yeah, but it was just that neat thing of kind of the back and forths of really processing some stuff and beginning to understand it so much better. I loved it.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation with an adoptee about birth certificates and we didn't really talk about this at all at Summit. And, you know, maybe next time we'll have a session on this. They were like original birth certificates. And I said, well, birth certificates are an issue for NPEs and DCPs too. And she was like, really? So we ended up having this huge conversation about the problems that NPEs also have and DCPs with birth certificates. So yeah, definitely. So much learning. I guess that's a question I want to ask everybody. What'd you learn about a different community? Like I just learned something about baby scoop era.
And I can change our view here into gallery view. And instead of putting it in the chat, let's hear you talk. I mean, go ahead and raise your virtual hand, raise your hand on screen, and tell us what you learned. Do we all learn about Paquita, that she's funny and fast on her feet?
Well, she was great.
Well,
Okay, Eileen.
Hey, everybody. I typed it in the chat, but I'll say it because it's so important to me. I got a much better sense of how big the tent is. I really have to give thanks to Leslie for seeing this so many years ago. She's been talking about this for years and years and years. And that Cara and Jennifer and Marcie were able, and Beth were able to make this happen is just, it's been such a revelation to me. I never got a chance to hear a sperm donor talk about what life was like for him. I never got to meet an embryo donor. I never got to meet so many DCPs and hear what life was like for them. I wrote somewhere, and I can't remember where, how I made myself not go to birth mother things, but go to things that had nothing to do with me, because I wanted to learn from the richness of the number of folks we had there. And going to Bill's session and hearing what it was like for significant others. I'm not a significant other. I'm the main protagonist in this story in my life, but I have significant others and I've had significant others, and I never had a sense of what it was like for them. So to go to Bill's, and he broke us into two groups, and people just open their hearts, which is what I always love about all the conferences I go to that have to do with adoption or disconnected family. It's kind of like when I meet with memoir writers, and Candace and Amy can speak to this. There's no fucking small talk. There's no BS. We just say, what's your story? And we listen. with respect, and we grow from it. And so I was just extremely moved and extremely grateful by all the people whose stories I got to get a sense of. So I'm so grateful to y'all, and I can't wait for the next one. Thank you.
And I wanted to add, I had a reminder. I sat in on the father's panel, and there was a father there that was a dad through adoption, but then also had been a sperm donor during his academic years. And he talked about it, and it reminded me, and I know Joyce will be right here. Go, can you get this, baby? Anyway, that so many families are made of both, some kind of third-party reproduction, some kind of maybe adoption. And so as we move forward, all those people are growing up too. Maybe they'll be a little better schooled about some of the differences between them. We hope families will be talking about this more, but never forget that there are families right now, and have been for the last 20 years, right, Joyce, created from both modes. And teaching them is, like us, it's an additional load.
I agree with you, Leslie. And the other thing is that people don't talk about it enough and educate people enough. I have clients who are shocked to find out their grandparents, because their son was a donor. And they just don't put that together. There are so many things that people don't really put together, and all of this merges in some way. And it's terrific to bring it together and to look at the similarities and differences. But I think the similarities are greater, and the more powerful we are as a voice, the more we get done. So I think this is terrific.
And Dr. Joyce, you've been to a lot of conferences over your career, and you definitely found this one unique and different. I know you shared that with us.
Yeah, and Leslie, I think Leslie and I have been around long enough at conferences and have tried to pull these things together, and to even acknowledge step-parent adoptions. In the old days, people used to think you weren't really adopted unless you were legally adopted. But there are so many psychological and emotional issues that are the same for many people in complex families. And it doesn't do anyone any good to discount that. It really needs to be brought together. So I think you guys did a great job putting this together. I know, having run a number of conferences, I'm surprised you're upright this soon after it, because it's a lot of work. And I hope you feel good about what you did, because you did an amazing job and brought people together. And I just want to say one more thing. A lot of these conferences, because of the trauma involved for people, a lot of these conferences are fraught with difficulties and people not getting along very well and arguing about things. And I just think what you bring to this, and the way Marcie and Jennifer and Beth for sure, and more recently Kara, but I think you guys have always done everything you could to make it gentle, welcoming, and kind. And I think that's a hard thing to do with this group of traumatized people who are trying to figure out who they are in the midst of lots of changes.
Thank you, Dr. Joyce.
I'd say thank you for saying that, Dr. Joyce. There were 4 of us and over 225 attendees. So if we didn't personally hug you, welcome you, talk to you, I am so sorry. We tried. But we were still very grateful that you were there.
So I know there's hands raised, we'll let them go. I just put in the chat, somebody asked about the online content. So I just put the link in there. Everybody who attended live or who purchased a ticket should have, if you attended live, you got a little card with $100 off personalized coupon. if you bought a ticket, but for some reason couldn't come, I know somebody had COVID, there were some deaths, lots of different things, life happens. Just shoot me an email and I will send you a code as well for the digital content. Just figured I'd put that out there. And when you buy it, you can buy it now. And as I add more digital parts, they will automatically update in your cart, and you can, update the thing that you've purchased. You just go log back in and it'll automatically update for you. So don't worry about that. It should all be available by May 1st. I'm working on it. I haven't started the new stuff yet, but I will. Lynn?
Hey, just getting caught up from the lack of sleep and the excitement of everything. I think it took me 2 or 3 days to recover before I felt somewhat normal, but it's good to see everyone again. It was an amazing weekend. There's so much to say. I don't want to take up a bunch of time, but I posted in the chat, but I'll just say what I said. I really liked the ethnicity shift panel. I discovered my ethnicity surprise 9 years ago, and there really wasn't any support at that time that I could find. It was one of those things that even in my support group, I felt like nobody would really get it, so I didn't really share. So I appreciate that being part of the conference. So, and it was great to chat with everyone one-on-one. I skipped a lot of the sessions. I'm telling on myself now. I really enjoy one-on-one conversations, and I was able to get to know some people, like reunite with some people I hadn't seen in several years, or meet new people. And the only time I felt like I had to do that was during some of your sessions. So I apologize for being a skipper, but I just felt like that was what I needed to do this time. So thank you to all the board members and everybody who was there.
Thank you, Lynn. Chris, I know you've got your hand up.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I wanted to kind of piggyback on what Eileen had shared. You know, I was so ignorant. This conference must have been kind of full circle for Leslie. You know, I have to admit, I've heard Leslie speak to this a little bit over the years at Cub conferences. And I think a lot of us, you know, and when I talk about like MPs and MPs and DCPs, and, you know, I think a lot of us, because we heard it, but we were listening to it and really didn't understand what this entailed. And boy, did I get educated. This conference really energized me. And I just want to thank Cara. You know, Thursday when we were setting up, and I think Jen and I and Cara, I think Beth was in the car, and you know, all Cara had to say to me was Miss NPE, and I thought about it, and you know, by definition, that clearly includes people who were adopted, and you know, it was really just a matter of, you know, I'm still kind of wrapping my head around this and stuff, but I just want to thank you for educating me on this, Cara. And I got to meet some NPEs, and it was amazing to hear them. I talked to a guy named Tony, who was an NPE, and it was interesting how some of the things that they were saying about when they found out that they were donor conceived, some of their surprise and concern and all of the feelings and emotions that go with that was very similar to adoptees who come into our Cub group here in Los Angeles. And I just found that very interesting. And again, it just so bridges those same similar feelings and emotions. Anyway, I just wanted to share that. And really, what is it, you know, having these two nonprofits together, we're bigger and stronger when we go together. But thank you for educating me, all of you. It really, I came home very energized. I've already spoken to a couple of friends about this, you know, educating them that you know, it's this whole right to know and NPs and MPs, and then the whole industry is not regulated. They don't have to keep records. And my friends are just like, what? I'm like, yes. So anyway.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris, I'm so excited for that. I
Quick
love it.
interjection. We've got a lot of questions and
Yeah, I was going to answer
the people answering it. Do we have a link that we can drop in the chat to the
terms. I'll put it in there. I was just going to say, I'm going to answer the NPE question real quick since it's up there and we're using it a lot. NPE, non-paternal event. It means you find out that the dad you think is your dad, your raising dad, the dad on your birth certificate or your birth certificate father, sometimes we call him your BCF, isn't genetically related to you. And we usually find that out from taking ancestry because we want to know we should wear a lederhosen or a kilt. And that's what an NPE is. So non-paternal event, sometimes people say not parent expected, non-parental event, same thing. And right to know, we use it just meaning your dad, but however someone use it works for us. So
I'm still practicing a lot of this and I'm trying to get it into my vernacular, so that it more comes off the cuff. I mean, anybody who knows me from Cub, Leslie, and I'm really good. I mean, I wrote papers about adoption and birth parents and all that when I was going through Cal State LA. So it'll take a little time, but I'm already trying to get some of these terms in my verbiage and my vernacular. So I thank you. I thank you, Cara, for educating me. I so kind of get it now, and I'm still wrapping my brain, but it's circling very quickly. The wagons are circling, and I apologize, Leslie, that I wasn't on this sooner. I am now as a caseworker.
Now it's good.
NPE, misattributed parentage experience,
yeah.
Used as an umbrella, like
umbrella for NPEs. Yes.
Yeah. NPEs, late discovery adoptees, donor conceived people, MPE. Anyway, I'm done with the terminology. I'll put the link in just a second.
Already using, assisted reproductive, people that are DCPs. I'm getting there. I mean, I'm already, exercising those. So.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, we've got Barb, then Nancy, then Amy. Barb, you're up.
Okay, hi everybody. Can you hear me well?
Yes.
Great. Okay, first of all, fantastic. This is like chef's kiss in terms of, I was blown away. I was thinking, maybe 50, 75 people, just a little gathering, not too much. But man, all of those people in that space. And it was wonderful to see. And it was, I have to admit that just like, was shared earlier, sometimes I didn't maybe make it to a session. At least it feels like I didn't. I wanted to try to, get to know people that I didn't, know from, like, particularly from those who are in the right to know space. So I tried, but I'm looking forward to the next time where that can happen even more. But I also want to say what I enjoyed the most was being a witness to two birth fathers basically in the space, stepping up to like be present be seriously present in such a space and willing to listen and absorb and learn and just actually talk to people. I was so glad to have a seat to see that, Ghost Kingdom with Brian was one, and then Dee with her father actually coming to sit in on her presentation, that was fantastic. And also I love the time frame, the spacing in between the sessions, because sometimes in the past I've had to sacrifice missing a session because I needed to recover. And this time it was so comfortable with having the break in between and then having the snacks available too. It helped to keep me energized and also being able to manage my emotions before I then stepped into the next space. So I really appreciate that that was attended to. Thank you.
Thanks, Barb. Nancy,
Hey, Marcie.
good to see you again.
Thank you. It's so nice to see you too and everyone here. A couple of things I just wanted to mention is what struck me was how our two different groups that you're bringing together were such well-formed communities. And I've only been to one other conference, and already, the people that I met at the first NAAP conference to this day are still kind of the relationships I have on all the Zoom calls. But now it was to observe the Right to Know group and to see how tight they are and how much they share their stories, that it was lovely to see that we can come together as well and find that kind of Venn diagram of where we intersect. For me as an LDA, I have to say, sometimes I can feel like a unicorn in an all adoptee group. That's when there's few LDAs or none. And so it was really wonderful to see what it was about the NPE experience or MPE experience. Let's just talk about the whole umbrella, that really acknowledged to me what is one of the most stunning parts of my experience, is just that surprise, that shock, that how your narrative completely turns upside down. So I felt like I belonged to both. And that was just really lovely. I signed up at the last minute. I'm so glad I did. And I guess the other thing I just want to mention quickly is just how wonderful it was to see all the authors and the podcasters and how big that aspect of this has grown. So I'm just very appreciative, and the breakouts were great. So
Great. Thank you, Nancy, for your input. We appreciate that. Amy, good to see you tonight.
Hi. Well, I came to the conference because I'm in a moment, I'm a birth mother, and I'm in a moment where I've done a lot of processing emotionally, and I'm like starting to feel ready to do more action. And so this was perfect because there was so much around policy, and there was enough of the emotional stuff, but tied to a lot of policy concerns. And that I feel similar to Chris and what a lot of people have said, that I heard Leslie, I believe Leslie, I trust her, but I didn't really get it. And after talking to a few DCPs, I'm still not flowing with all of it, but people who discovered they were not genetic, not through adoption, but people who otherwise discovered they were not genetically related to their parents, in a way that seemed benign. Like they know that they have their mother and father. They just happen to not be, it was a donor who created them on the father's side. But it was, for some reason, it was like really hard for me to understand why that's so painful. And I talked to Lily, I think it was, and I was like, okay, I feel stupid after being through this whole conference and still not quite getting it, but like, tell me, why does it really hurt to find this out? And she was like, well, it broke trust with the one family, and then the other family doesn't want to have a relationship. So like that equals zero, like this thing added up to an enormously destructive situation. And that gives me fire towards action. And there's something about the newness for me of processing that experience of DCP people that is exciting just for my brain to go through this functions, and knowing that this is a thing that is hiding in plain sight right now. This is happening all over the place. And the statistics about, like, we don't even know how many people don't know that this is their origin. that is just like, this has got to be communicated about. And so where adoption, I kind of feel like I lack credibility around adoption because I'm so emotionally attached. I feel like I can, this creates this adjacency where I can begin to act for that particular issue, the DCT issue. And I've already talked to somebody I know who's doing a donor, having a donor mom for babies that he's going to birth in a couple of months. And I was like, you know, that you need to do what you can here to do as well as you can. So I'm rambling and I'm having a hard time pinpointing what is so energizing about this conference, but that would be my word for it, is that it was very energizing, and I'm ready to team up and battle, or, you know, go somewhere with you people.
Thank you, Amy. So you came and you got your battery recharged, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. I know that feeling very well.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Diana, we're going to take your comment, and then Jen, I think you have something for us, right? Before we get to Leeanne.
Yeah, we can do both of them, and then we'll do my thing.
Okay. All righty. Diana?
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to say it was my first conference and I was blown away. I learned a lot. Meeting everybody was just fantastic. Of course, you know, I didn't get to go to all the classes, but whoever I met, everybody had a story and we were able to come together, and I wanted to meet everybody. So it was really a good experience, and it was very uplifting and positive. And then I saw some people I knew from Denver. So that was really nice too, to see people I haven't seen since 2018. And I just want to thank everybody, because I learned a lot too, you know, and I didn't realize I knew a big business, origins, everything, you know, there was just all I took away. Every class I went to, I took something away. And that's what I'm trying to process now. So see what I can do with it. And just thank all of you.
Thank you. It's good to see you in person finally after all this time.
And
Yes.
we need to acknowledge, okay, she was a first-time attendee, but she was also a photographer. So a lot of the pictures that you're seeing on social media were taken by her. So not only were you a first-time attendee trying to get as much stuff as possible, you were right there in the action taking the photos. So thank you so much. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
And she worked at the registration table during
Yes.
that.
Well, it was a good way to meet people.
It was. She was a great help.
Okay, thank
Now
you.
we know in the future, Jack of all trades.
Yes, thank you.
And let's acknowledge that she was doing it under, you know, that her own physical, like it was, Diana, you're an inspiration. Thank you so much for you just being there and doing.
Thank you.
all
I'm
that
not going to
you
let that stop me. I have
did.
scoliosis.
No, you did not.
I have severe scoliosis, and I was told when I was 40 I'd be in a wheelchair. So I fight it every day. But I don't complain about it. Thank you.
Okay, Leeanne?
Hey, Marcie. I don't think I officially, I mean, we said hi to each other, but I don't think we actually had, you know, a lengthy conversation with each other, but I did get a chance to give Kara a couple hugs and talk to her a little bit. But I'm an NPE, for those that I didn't get to meet. This is my first time at the conference, second time actually with the NAAP meeting. First time was at the pre-happy hour. But I just kind of wanted to, I was planning on just kind of sitting back and listening to everybody, but Amy brought, you know, I just kind of wanted to piggyback onto what Amy said, because yes, I'm definitely fired up. I haven't been able to stop thinking about it all week. I found out about my discovery occurred about 15 years ago, prior to DNA testing, but I found more answers with DNA testing. And so I'm further in on my discovery, and like Amy said, I'm at the point where I've done a lot of healing, and I'm ready to do something, help others. I've just wrapping up a certified trauma specialist program with Bradley Hall. I don't know if any of you know him. So that was one thing that I wanted to do. And my vision, just to kind of give you a background on where I'm going with this, because it's related to the last session I went to. My vision prior to going to the summit was to get into like physician education arenas and educate physicians on the fact that this is a trauma. Okay, and so when a patient who is an NPE goes into a physician's office and says, doctor, this happened to me, and the doctor says, oh, okay, no problem, we can just erase your history and your medical record, that's just re-traumatizing. So, you know, I just want, you know, physicians and other healthcare members out there to know that this is a trauma. And then I attended the squaring the Hippocratic Oath with NPEs. And that just blew my mind because I work in healthcare, non-clinical world, and very much surrounding my area of medical records, right? So when he was talking about how, you know, where is the line with the responsibility of a physician to have a discussion with a family member when they can obviously see that the child is of a different race. You know, and so where is that responsibility ethically, and what kind of, you know, so this is just sort of what's in my head all week, and kind of, so I'm sitting with this, trying to figure out, you know, what I want to do with it, where I want to go. But I just sort of thought I'd piggyback on what Amy was saying, and just to say that, yes, this has me. Yes, Richard is so knowledgeable, Kara. And I have his email. We're keeping in touch. So yes, this is sort of the direction I want to go with it. And just thought I'd hop in and piggyback on what Amy said. So.
Thank you.
Well, hey, Leslie.
Yeah,
Marcie wanted me to show a little video. Can you hang on for 5 minutes?
I can, but what Leeanne just said was a perfect intro, and I
Then you
promise
go for it.
be flabby. I said to Jennifer Diane Ghostin, this was the first conference where I saw a little more color. This is white privileged city. For most of the conferences I've been going to for 30 years, and for the first time, I saw more people of color, and I want to see more people of color because everybody sitting here knows what an integral part this is of adoption, and finding out you're not the heritage you thought you had. And it was not enough, but it was a starter. And I don't know how we all do that, but I want to be sure we get a whole lot more inclusive than these rooms, at least with adoption, let me promise you, have not been very colorful the last 30 years. And we need to improve because we got people out there hurting that need us. That's it.
Yes. Thank you, Leslie, for that.
All right, are you ready?
We're ready.
All right, so sit back and tell me if it messes up.
Round of applause, Jennifer.
Just a little bit of what we saw and did. And we are obviously, watching for your posts and loving to see all the pictures. Like I said, the diversity in all areas. I mean, every time we do this, more and more males versus females, or more and more ages. I think that's a lot of that is attributed to the donor conceived people being there. I think I met a lot of them that were quite a bit younger. Their industries did not learn from our industry and are making all the same mistakes. They're just decades behind us. But I mean, it was just an amazing group of people. I thank everybody for sharing your photos and continuing to share your thoughts. And don't forget to do the summit feedback, right, Cara?
Yes, let me put that right here, because I see a lot of people, talking about we got to do this again, those types of things. We've had a lot of questions about, oh, when is this happening again? We're so excited too, but we need your feedback about when it's happening again. And we need to be able to improve what we did this time, and we need your feedback about next time. So let me put the link in. If you haven't had a chance to do the online feedback form, here it is. I noticed somebody did it in 2 minutes and somebody took 15. So it's kind of how long it takes for you to do it. It's entirely in your own realm. It's all digital, so it should be pretty quick.
People are asking about where they can see that video. I will upload it to our YouTube channel. And as soon as I open my browser, I will grab the URL to our YouTube channel and put it down there.
So I noticed, I was looking through the wishes, those of you who were able to stay through the end of the last session, 404 message for the link I just posted. Okay, hold on. Then let me look.
I think I've got the whole thing. Let me try to post it. Let's see if that does it.
We did it simultaneously.
Ah.
So I don't know, those of you who were able to stay for the whole session, for the ending session, we're so grateful to Ridge House and Amber for walking us through the fact that we might have a little conference hangover, which is something I learned at the Cub conference. We had asked everybody to write their wishes down and for the future, because I think that's just something that's a good thing to think about, what we're hoping for the future. And we had a lot of great responses, didn't we? One thing everybody talked about, a number of people, was writing and how cathartic writing is for them, and how they really hope in a year they'll have written everything, which I love that concept. I also think, why not keep writing? I see Candace nodding. Yeah, everybody, yeah. There was also a lot of wishes about the 3 communities understanding each other's journeys better. I think we had so many amazing writers. Beth, I don't know if you want to put the book link in there, you could get it. I think getting a book from somebody from a different community is a great way to also, I mean, since we're not in person right now, we can't ask like, hey, Cassandra, tell me about your DCP experience, or, tell me about your NPE experience, Cara. I think getting a book in the interim and doing some reading is great. Chris, you wanted to add?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I wanted to thank Cara and Marcie and Beth and Jen. I had 15 people that came to my LGBTQ, we're calling it Leviticua. Thank you, Jen. We're calling it Leviticua. I've already got some people here on the West Coast that are using that now. Workshop you know, I just wanted to share that I really don't want to go to the Leviticus stuff. I want to keep it focused on, you know, the DCPs, the NPEs, and the adoptees, and like that. That's what this is about. But the reason why I wanted to share this and I raised my hand is because after the workshop, I had probably most of the younger people of the 15 that came who were a little shy to share, but some of the younger ones shared in that room because it was not taped. I told them that this was a safe place. Nothing was going to leave that room. And that enabled them to share about their experience being an NPE, and which they would not have done in a bigger setting. And I just wanted to share with everyone that I don't want to focus on the LGBTQ stuff. I just don't. It's not what that's about. But because these people are in the Leviticus community, because when you're gay, you're constantly on alert that anything you say or anything you share, even if it's not connected to that somebody may spy you out or it may connect you to that. So I guess what I'm saying is thank you for allowing me to do that workshop, because I think it enabled that segment of the population that came. It gave them a platform to share their NPE stuff, their MPE stuff, their adoption stuff, where they wouldn't have done it in a bigger group because they're Leviticus. Am I making any sense?
You are. And you know, you had a lot of engagement. There was a lot of engagement in that workshop.
Yeah. So
a
I want to say,
people came forward.
Yeah.
I mean, they came forward and they
Yeah.
partook. Yeah.
It just, the Leviticus stuff, it just adds another layer of crap. It just adds another layer of crap. And so it you know, it was so great, wasn't it, Marcie and Jen, because they saw that, you know, some of the 20-year-olds,
yeah,
I didn't make them get up because nobody wants to public speak, but I told them that, you know, just share from your seat. And they did.
They got up, they
got up and it was great.
Yeah,
and then they came up to me later, like even the next day, and said these things to me. So I wanted to share and say thank you. There was one other thing, and that's I've forgotten it. But anyway, thank you again. I hope we can do that. And next time, if there's another summit, and I already have some other tools that I want to use with that segment of our umbrella to mix it up a little bit. So anyway, the other thing I know I wanted to say, it came to me, you know what, my degree was in sociology with a minor in social work. So I'm very red lights go off, red buzzers go off with labels and numbers and percentages and stuff. And what was interesting was we had 15 in the room. I know for a fact that 3 were not in the Leviticus community, just what I knew. So the federal government figures that about 15% of the population is in Leviticus. And I was thinking about 13, maybe 12 to 13. So we were right about, I mean, I know this is kind of like, you know, who cares, but it was interesting because the people that came into the workshop, we were just under the national average. So I think we were about 13% of the 225 attendees who came to the summit, you know, who came to that workshop. So we were just about where the federal government was worth. I just thought that was kind of interesting. Anyway, I'll shut up.
I want to answer Kathleen. She goes, what is Leviticus? Okay, so I started watching some of these fabulous creators. Some of them are on here right now on TikTok. And I mean, you want to go find the young, like younger people. I'm going to be 60 this year. So you want to go find, you know, people a few generations younger. That's where they are. And their content is amazing. I mean, you got to wade through a lot of crap and decide who you're going to follow. But there's some amazing stuff out there. This was not anybody I follow. If you know on TikTok, it's their For You page. It's things they think you're going to like. And this woman is, she's just says LGBTQIA, and she's like trying to pronounce it. And she's like, Leviticus? And then other people in that community are stitching it and they're like, I will forever be known as Leviticua. And they're laughing about it. So I'm telling Chris this and he's like, yes, we have to be Leviticua. So it's LBGTQIA. And somebody actually tried to pronounce it, and that's how that came about.
Oh, that's priceless.
Can I piggyback off of what Chris said?
Yes.
Okay. And thank you, Chris. I mean, thank you. I'm so glad that that space was there, because one thing that I find to be very important is creating a safe, supportive space, you know, after facilitating monthly groups every month, having that safe, supportive space for people to be comfortable enough to share the uncomfortable. And this life, we didn't ask for it, is uncomfortable. I mean, there's some in layers of crap. Well said. So add other layers of crap when it comes to being represented when you're a person of color, or when you're African descendant, or any other type of, you know, communities that also wind up being in this space in which identity is so important just as a human being, but then you also can be obviously something that, you know, within the community that we don't see represented, and being able to be intentional about making sure our spaces are going to be accepting and welcoming to those who usually, like everywhere, usually you don't see many people, but that doesn't mean they're not interested. A lot of times it's just that maybe they don't know, or maybe, you know, people just didn't think that they'd be interested. But in any case, as a person that wears many different layers, it bothers my soul. And I also want so much for everyone to just be mindful that we want to be inclusive, and it's not, and this space was so fantastic. And I want as many people to experience that, and so they can go on their process to heal as well. So thank you for creating this conference. This is the start. And it also is a place to allow people who had never been, and there were many surprised, you know, that had never been in such a space, to start processing the pain or anything that they're going through that they never even thought that they had.
Thank you for saying that, Barbara. I intentionally started off my workshop by saying that this was not going to be recorded and that nothing that was said inside that room was going to leave. I mean, that's the only way you can do this, because I know that when I came to CUB, when I came to Concerned United Birth Parents 23 years ago, I came as a married man, you know, like half of my generation, that the messages from the 50s and 60s were lie about it. It's not okay. Get married, raise a family, shut up and shut the front door and keep it in your pants. And so, you know, half of my male gay friends who are in their mid 50s and over used to be married to women because that's what we were told to do. Anybody who's a lesbian friend of mine who's over 50, every one of them was married to a man and has kids. So I knew enough to know that I had to make it safe in there for these young kids who are going through this crap right now and trying to figure out their sexuality, and give them a space where they could talk about being an NPE and talk about being donor conceived and all of that, and talk about being adopted. So I wanted to thank Cara and Jen and Beth and Marcie for giving us that place. It's not about the gay stuff. It's about being an NPE and being adopted and all that. I wanted to put on that. But the other thing too is Marcie and Jen will tell you, I acknowledged to everybody in that room that there were people in that room who did not feel safe and that were living in the shadows. You know, I don't know if everybody knew, but weeks before we had this summit, the state of Kentucky and the state of Indiana, they passed the Don't Say Gay law, and Kentucky even said, okay, watch Florida, we're going to beat you on this. And they banned all drag shows, and they banned any kind of a dance that was gay or anything like that. And to be honest with you, if somebody would have left that room and gone and called the police, technically they could have come in, they could have arrested me because that meeting was against the law, as of the laws in Kentucky from 3 weeks before. So technically that workshop that we gave was against the laws in Kentucky. So I knew very well that there were people in that room that were scared and they were living in the shadows. It worked out so great. And didn't it, Jen and Marcie? There were 3 people in there that I don't think were in Leviticua. And I set up the exercise so that you could be straight and you could still participate in the exercise, because we looked at intersectionalities, and we looked at how you self-identify. So it was great.
Like I said, and they were engaged. They participated. It was really good.
Yeah, there was that guy that I forgot his name, sitting in the back. He was not in Leviticua, and he kind of went through the exercise.
Yeah.
You know, ethnicity, his sexuality and gender, and then he talked about his intersectionalities. It was a great exercise. It was what I learned at Cal State LA. I got to use my degree.
Yeah, it was a great workshop. Wonderful. Thanks, Chris. Rich, are you going to sing for us? Testify? Are you going to sing?
One more time.
One more time. That was so great. How many got to, wasn't that wonderful? Put some comments here. Who liked that? The testify song. Wasn't that that was just outstanding.
I dumped the link to it in here too in the
Oh,
chat.
these are great. Yeah, if you haven't heard, you got to listen to that. That's going to be our song. But yeah, go ahead, Rich.
So, well, thank you. I want to thank everybody for what a warm reception they gave to this song. I think Cara maybe said it best, where she said, these aren't your exact words, Cara, but she's like, okay, so the legislation guy does music too? Well, I don't get it. But she said it made me a more rounded person or something. And as through COVID, I've gotten more and more rounded, unfortunately, but working on that. First of all, just thanks so much. I have planned conferences. I've been to conferences. This truly was one of the best executed conferences I've ever attended. And you all just knocked it out of the park. So smartly done, so well balanced, excellent content, fantastic speakers, plenty of food, great hotel. Let's move it to another city that's a little cheaper to get to. Yeah, we all know that. But along with that, I wanted to put in a little plug. Feedback I got from the legislative session, and I saw Ridge House at the airport. He kind of agreed, is maybe consider a like a little separate pre-conference legislative summit, especially if we're talking about multiple countries and multiple issues. It was very, very broad brush, and I think people were very enthusiastic and got good stuff out of it. But to really make an impact, we are going to need to find a forum, or maybe use this as a springboard for a separate event. Just a suggestion. Love all the creatives coming together. And if it's funny you mentioned, like I was just on the phone with my orchestrator today, and he's a musician in a touring Broadway show. And so I bounce ideas off of him. He's going to be in Denver and he's getting me a free ticket. Yeah. Small perks for spending lots of money on these musicians. But I really believe that one of the key ways that we can get outside of our echo chamber, and it is one, it's great that we understand each other. It's great that we have our own language, so to speak. But one of the things that's going to change society is making it accessible through art and through writing and through music to those outside our community, because there's something that happens that touches their brains. So I just encourage more and more of that as well. We're all about the healing, and I think that using those things as an avenue, as a tool for making a difference is really powerful. But thank you all. Hugs, kisses. I'm in withdrawal. A week ago, we were all together, and now we're all alone. Not totally alone, but you know what I'm saying.
And Rich, I got to tell you how many people came up to me and we had discussions afterwards. I learned the most important thing I learned from Rich. I can never say open records.
That's right.
So, hey,
If you
that
have
was the
any-
most important message. So, but we did discuss that we need to give you a whole lot more time.
It's so important, and it's, you know, Senator Ford just added so much gravitas to what was said as someone as an insider. I presented with Representative Sane here in Colorado a few years ago, and it was the same sort of thing where you can have a legislator, a lobbyist. We did a whole panel where we had a Court of Appeals judge from Colorado as well. And so people inside who can speak from the inside, I think, can really be a great tool for us. So let's just do more of that.
Hey, Rich, we have a question in the comment. So can you go ahead and give everybody real quick the verbiage they're supposed to say instead of open records?
Yes. So open just real quick. The reason that open records is not a good phrase is that it carries legal weight. It carries a legal meaning. And when legislators hear that, they think about sunshine laws, which means that any citizen anywhere can go in and look up information on your adoption. And if you say, I want to get an open records bill going for adoption records, you've basically killed your issue. So rather than open records, what we're saying is adult access to original birth certificates and certain other records, records related to the relinquishment and adoption. Really simple, adult access to original birth certificates and certain other records related to the adoption. Because it deals with lots of fears, it puts to death a lot of hot button issues that react to people. And one of our biggest challenges is navigating all the little mines in the minefield that causes people to say no without actually understanding what they're saying no to. Notice my little bipartisan photo up here. We've got the Democrats and the Republicans coming together for a bipartisan bill behind me. Yeah. Thanks. It was awesome. Can't wait for the next one.
Thank you, Rich. And we're looking forward to hearing more from you on the musical.
Hey, I just got a finalized version of the male adoptee anthem.
Keep us posted on all that.
It rocks. It rocks. Not because I'm so smart, it's because I'm working with some great musicians. I have good ideas and they actually turn it into something awesome. So.
All right. Well, thank you, Rich. We appreciate you. Okay, Lori.
Yeah, I wanted to say that was the one thing. I had my daughter there who came with me. And the main thing that she took away from it was what Rich had said also about the language. And she'd been hearing that throughout the whole conference, you know, using the right terminology of how we all identify and just the language that we use when we talk and stuff. But when he mentioned about, you know, it's not open records, it's adult access, she really talked about that afterwards. She goes, I didn't think about that, you know, because up until Rich has mentioned it, I would always say open records too. And so, you know, that's what I liked about this whole conference. I don't remember one particular session just really impacting me as much as it was meeting everyone in all three groups. I guess you could narrow it down to three, or the whole galaxy, and hearing everybody's individual stories, whether I was having lunch with them, breakfast, dinner, on a panel, or if they were presenting. And, you know, that's why it was so important. My daughter would lean over and go, well, what does that mean? What do they mean by that? And so learning that terminology is key. And I just appreciate everybody. The four who put this on, I agree with Rich. It was, you guys might have been pulling your hair out in the background, might have been going crazy. You did not show it. And the conference did not look like that. The conference was well ran, went smoothly. I don't know. It was such a great time. I unfortunately didn't feel the withdrawal until
Wednesday of this week because we stayed an extra couple of days. And I still had my daughter there to help process. So when I came home Wednesday and Thursday was probably really rough for me, but so I had withdrawal a little bit later, but you guys, fabulous job, fabulous.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, Cara.
I was just going to say, when we're talking about how people identify in terms and all that and having grace with each other, I don't know if you guys noticed, Eve brought all these buttons with her. I have mine on. She has a whole bunch left over. So if you want an MPE, LDA, or DCP, or an A button, or all of the above, I know some of you can wear a number of them. Eve said she'll pop one in the mail to you if you want one. So just, message her and ask.
And Cara, I have a question for you. You ready?
Uh-oh.
I don't know about you, but I got untangled. Did you get untangled?
I'm feeling that way.
You feel that way? Who got untangled? Put it in the chat bar. Let us know. I don't know about you, but I did. Paige, yeah.
Peter called it twisted.
We all got untangled. Yeah.
I got untangled. Yep.
So what do you think, Cara? What about future summits?
I just think we're going to have to do it, Marcie.
What do you think? You ready for another one? Somebody said 1 year, somebody said 2 years.
That's why that feedback form is so important, because it'll help us make that decision.
The feedback form is really, it's really important. So if you haven't done that yet, if you would please go ahead and do that for us. And also, what else is important? Volunteerism. We had more volunteers this year, I think, at least compared to NAAP's conferences that we've ever had before. And we couldn't have done it without you. We really appreciate that. So yeah, look at yourself. I mean, what gifts and talents do you have that you can offer and help us out?
So that, I know a lot of people, I don't want to lose our momentum. I think there's a lot we can do together. I'm going to host something like this. I'm calling it Harnessing the Power of Summit in a couple of weeks on Sunday. We always do our events on a Sunday at noon Pacific time or 3 East Coast time. So send me, if you want the Zoom link, just email. I'll put the email in here.
And that's on the 23rd, Cara.
Thank you. If that's a Sunday.
Yeah, that's a Sunday. We'll be there. And I think we've got another question from Fireside Adoptees. Who do we have? Randall.
Good evening. Yeah, I wanted to sort of step back a little bit when you were talking about we can't say open records. Is there a place where I can go to get more information on that?
Rich?
I mean, have they done any kind of reports or that that I could look at?
Yeah, there's actually some really good resources, and I'll post it in the chat. Really good stuff on talking points and even links to case law and organizations that are supporting what we're doing, national organizations. If you go to adoptiontruthandtransparency.org, that's the Coalition for Truth and Transparency in Adoption. There are a lot of great resources out the internet. That's just the organization I happen to serve as president of. It's a 501c4 lobbying organization, and lots of great resources there as a place to start. I'll post that in the chat. Thank you for asking, Randall.
All right. Thank you, Rich.
Okay, as we're winding down, does anybody have any questions?
I got one more thing to add, Marcie.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people donate. You guys heard me ask when we were at Summit. Summits like conferences like these are expensive. Sponsorships, donations, and ticket prices did not cover the full cost of Summit. So if you can donate, if everybody who attended donated $15, we would be great. So, even just $5 is great. So if you feel like you can donate, please do. And thank you to everybody who did. I just asked so I can keep track, and any donations that are donated that say Summit in the comment. Now, 6 months from now, 1 month from now, we're going to put it towards either this summit or the next summit. So all donations summit will be used for Summit purposes.
Great. Thanks, Cara. Amy.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, hi.
I just wanted to give a shout out and say thanks for welcoming myself and my husband, and that you guys had a special session for him. He like really enjoyed it. He had one comment. He said he's really upset he doesn't have an acronym. So maybe we can think of something.
Sweet. Great, thank you. Anybody else? Jen, you have any comments? We leave anything out? Beth?
Well, I think just to let you guys know, I mean, mentioned it in a couple of comments on social media. The Untangling the Roots website is going to stay up. Cara and I, in the midst of the finalization of all this stuff, we're the crazy people registering to be exhibitors at the National Genealogical Society's conference in Richmond, Virginia. So I brought everything that would normally go back to Seattle with Cara back home in my van, so I can drive to Richmond and she can fly in. But we're going to be one of 431 exhibitors there. We are doing our exhibition booth under Untangling Our Roots. And then under that title, it's Right to Know in NAAP. I mean, we're going to be, there's, you know, Sons of American Revolution, Daughters of American Revolution, all the DNA testing companies, DNAngels. I mean, there is a chance to get to people who value, these are genealogists. They want the birth certificates to be correct. They want the death certificates to be correct. So this is a chance to get more allies. And then turning around again in August, thanks to an invite from Lynn, participating in the Legislative Summit, which is actually going to be in Indianapolis this year. So we're trying to keep the momentum going on this. I've had a few people who said, can we do it again next month? No, we can't. I want the feeling back next month, but no, we can't.
I'm so excited to go to both those events with you, Jen. I think keeping the Untangling Our Roots alive and putting it out there for people. And, you know, if we get to the genealogists, because it's those people who are meeting people who find out they're adopted or donor conceived or had an NPE. Those people need our help. They need access to the resources, the love and support we can provide as a community, and as well as the moms and the dads and the siblings and the significant others. We all need support. We are all impacted by this stuff. So we can get to those people, just like if we can get to the medical professionals, and they can spread the word. And so we want to do more like this. If you have ideas about how to do this, come in a couple weeks. We'll be talking about it, or just email us. Now, we will be checking periodically the Untangling Our Roots one. You can email Jen or myself or Marcie or Beth. And we want to keep moving forward in trying to help just give all of our voices space and really impact change, right? Because the goal is to really have change.
Yeah, I mean, I think
like
that
to throw in on that just to say that that's where we all need to be going. Is we've all say for generations when we're talking to each other, we're preaching to the choir. Well, we got to get beyond the choir to educate the public, and anybody that has ideas for that. I get stymied sometimes, but there are so many entities that we can reach. Yeah, that's wonderful. I love you guys doing this. This is fabulous.
And I think if you know the 225 plus people that came and were there in Louisville with us, they are all people that have the same vision as us, and they can help spread the word and do the outreach as well. And you know, the more times we do this, the more people we talk to about this, it's just going to gain momentum. So much appreciate everybody's participation, their thoughtful feedback, their time, their energy, the volunteerism, the contributions that everyone's made. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm so grateful to everybody. It was such a fabulous experience. I thought I was going to come and get to like hang out and chat with everyone. And I was a little disappointed that I didn't have time to do that. I apologize because I wanted to talk to everybody, and but I got a hug from everybody, and that was almost as good. And so just thank you everyone who attended for making it so incredibly special.
Thank you, Cara. Lynn, do you have a question or comment before we wind down?
Just real quick, wanted to comment about the genealogists. I've noticed in my local genealogy community that they tend to be really great allies, and that they surprised me with being such advocates for their adopted DNA matches and their NPE DNA matches. So I really hope you guys will focus on genealogists, because they really believe in our right to know.
Hey, Krista, you had something to add real quick?
No, it was a mistake.
Okay, nice to see
Sorry.
you.
Well, once again, we'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. Again, we appreciate everyone that showed up at the summit. It was just epic. It was just everything and more. And we love the energy. We want to keep the momentum going. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to any of us. And we hope to see you back here on Friday, the 21st. We'll be talking with Lorraine Dusky she'll be talking about her new edition, Hole in My Heart. So I've read the first edition. I'm not finished with the second one yet, but if you'd like to join us, we'll be chatting with Lorraine on the 21st. So go ahead and mark your calendars. From all of us here at NAAP and Right to Know, we love each and every one of you and appreciate everything, and look forward to seeing you in the future.